After some time of waiting, it came back to me. Inside of this briefcase is where I need to finally complete the biggest project of my career. Part A of the plan had gone flawlessly. 6 artworks, created by 6 of the most talented artists I can think of, in 6 different parts of the world. There's only one piece of the puzzle left to get an answer to my question, and I'm the one who needs to solve it. But before I try, and in order for you to understand this properly, let's go back in time to August 2024. There was a question which, what is inspiration? Took over my head. Day and night. So I went on a mission to find out. First, I came up with a plan. Like in a game of telephone, 6 artists and I would create artworks inspired by each other's art using this Lenovo Yoga Slim 7i Aura Edition imagined with Handel. Once each artist finished their piece, they would ship the laptop with their artwork in it to the next creative. The next creative would create something inspired by the previous participant, ship it to the next artist, and so on. After the cycle was completed, the laptop would come back to me. And it did. This takes us to the second stage of my plan. Call it Side B, the future. Now I will need to analyze the results to see what each artist created with the power of the Slim 7i. Do some research, talk with experts, and create a final artwork inspired by all 6 artists to hopefully get an answer to my question. So today I'm going to discover the anatomy of the artist's brain. Okay, so that's the theory. Now that Side A has been put into practice, let's see how it went. I created the first artwork. In order to make this more interesting, I had to create something simple, which it's pretty foreign to me. But inspired by Japanese street signs, I managed to do. I called it Anatomy of the Artist's Brain. The next stop was VEXX. Inspired by my art piece, VEXX explored his own artist's brain. He tried new art mediums, he tried new art forms, and came up with this masterpiece. Then the laptop took a 12-hour flight to Japan, where it met GAKU. He, inspired by VEXX's work, stepped out of his comfort zone and came up with new and incredible edits and transitions, which he filmed under Tokyo's neon lights and edited on the Yoga Slim 7i, which then returned back to Europe, to Norway, home of Maria Kalevik. She was inspired by GAKU cinematography and created an absolutely unbelievable film about life, meaning, and memories, powered by the amazing Intel Core Ultra processor. Afterwards, the laptop took a trip to India to meet another incredible filmmaker, Shutter Authority. This is insane. Inspired by Maria's VFX and concept, Shutter showcases the complexity of dreams and reality, with the help of some crazy CGI. Now, 30,000 kilometers west from India, in the US, VANESSA, who, drawn by Shutter's take on dreams and reality, created a fantastical scene of her daughter and her dog.
Hey, congrats on being a part of that collab as well, by the way.
Huh?
The Gawx artist collab, you're one of them.
No, Elliot, that's you.
Oh.
Finally, the laptop took the longest trip yet, to Australia, where it met ELLIOT. His art is usually pretty minimal, but inspired by Vanessa's imaginative and incredibly detailed work, he created a masterpiece made up of 100 posters. It worked. Now,
it's my turn.
But before I work on my art piece, and now that you've seen in its purest form how inspiration works, let's find out how it feels, its history and its importance in the creative process. But I am not an expert. To do this, I put together a team of scientists, art historians and artists so that they could explain this to me in more detail. The first person I interviewed was David Eagleman, a renowned neuroscientist, author and presenter of the series The Creative Brain. I asked him about the scientific side of inspiration and how our brain works once inspiration hits. This is what he said.
The part that's so interesting to me is that this is what human brains do. We absorb the world around us and we constantly generate new versions of it. We have this giant, what's called the prefrontal cortex. That's the part right behind the forehead. And that is the part of the brain that allows us to think about what ifs and what could be. And that's what inspiration is you've envisioned a future and then you think, heck yeah, I'm gonna chase down that path and make that happen.
And that's when I realized that I had been doing just that, without noticing, my whole life. You feed the machine, constantly give it its nutrients, vitamins and minerals. When it's time to create, he mixes them all for you. He makes you think of what ifs, and you try them out, pushing you to come up with something new. A remix of sorts. And this process has been in existence for ages, from prehistory and the cave paintings to the 20th century and the Impressionist movement. But how exactly did we go from this to this? This is what I asked two of the greatest art historians on YouTube, The Canvas and Great Art Explained.
Yeah, sometimes it feels like art history is a huge game of telephone, as you're saying, right? Where everyone gets inspired off of each other, which is fascinating because you look at Van Gogh. We were talking about Van Gogh earlier. Van Gogh did great art inspired by the Japanese. He even painted himself as a Japanese man, which it was like an homage to say, I am inspired by the Japanese.
Cave paintings all over the world have some similarities, so it's like the inspiration is there with the rocks or whatever's surrounding you. By the time we get to the Renaissance, people like Michelangelo, Raphael, they are definitely being inspired by other people.
And when I listened to their answers, another question arose. Copying, stealing, homaging. What is the difference? I didn't hesitate to ask.
I think that's a really hard question because it's like, am I stealing because I'm reading all these books? Am I stealing the ideas?
Some artists just reproduce the same painting by a different artist and call it theirs. It's called appropriation. That's the concept.
It depends on who you ask. Okay, if you ask Picasso, then it's not stealing. But if you ask Cindy Sherman, then it's probably stealing, so it depends on the artist. But I don't think there's such a thing as stealing in art. There are great artists like Richard Prince is one of my favorite artists, and he never does anything original. He copies other people's photographs or drawings or anything, but just by doing that, he's making something new.
How much of an artist is at the origin of an artwork, right?
Is it ready-made or is it stealing? That's a really difficult question.
Sometimes we think that inspiration comes from someone out of nowhere. Like if artists have this innate creative play. No, it comes with interactions with others. It comes with different cultures.
And I agree. I like to say I'm a collage of all the things I love and admire. But in reality, I'm a collage of all the things I consume. My brain is like a sponge. It absorbs everything it consumes. And when I need it to, I squeeze it, mixing all of my influences together and transforming them into new things. But it is easy to get stuck and run out of ideas. And it is important to take care of what you consume, because whether you like it or not, it will eventually all influence you. My last two calls were with Ricardo Cabolo, an exceptional artist with an iconic art style and a long inspiration of mine, and Liana Fink, an incredibly gifted illustrator and author who frequently works with The New Yorker and whose publications have been featured in the New York Times.
So inspiration is kind of a magical state that it's hard to get into on purpose.
For me, all this process of creativity and inspiration, I've learned after so many years that it has to be something natural.
For the work that I don't really need to do on a deadline. I don't search for inspiration, and that tends to be my more personal work. But I submit cartoons to the New Yorker every week, and they take about 10 cartoons. And because that's a lot, and also because those cartoons are not quite exactly what comes to me naturally, I need to really free up a day in the week just to think. And I like to draw when I think. And when I used to have more time, I used to ride a train all day. That was my process.
I know what I'm inspired, but I don't read or I don't see a movie just to get inspired. It's just like an open window always, and sometimes there's a bird coming in, and probably not now, maybe in a year or 10, it will come up again in a way, and it will work in a natural way with my flow, with my work.
And such as Ricardo explained, naturally, the idea for the final artwork came to mind. I want to honor my biggest inspiration, cinema, and the way movies are represented in a single image, with posters. I will create 6 movie posters for the anatomy of the artist's brain, each inspired by one of the 6 creatives involved in this project. So let's not lose any more time and let's just jump into it. For the first one, inspired by GAKU, I wanted to capture the essence of the place I live in. So I grabbed my incredibly light Yoga Slim 7i and, relying on its great battery life, went out to the beautiful streets of Mexico City. I would explore new locations and work wherever and whenever inspiration hit. On my way back, I stopped at the art store to, inspired by VEXX, go out of my comfort zone. Once back home, I cut all distractions using smart mode. And I started experimenting. I created 3 drawings, of which this one is my favorite. So I transferred it to the yoga laptop to add the final touches, and, relying on the precise pure sight monitor, adjusted the colors of my drawing. Meanwhile, in the room next door, I struggled to, inspired by Shudder, create my first 3D model. But I tried, failed, tried again, and came up with something I was pretty happy with. For the 4th one, inspired by Maria, I revisited my past. And for the 5th one, drawn by Vanessa, I mixed my studio photography with my art skills. To finish, I created a heavy ELLIOT-inspired poster, something clean and simple. And finally, I put them all together to create the super poster. There are a few times in which I enter this magical state of inspiration and lose the sense of time while I create, a state of flow. My artwork was ready, and it was made possible by my incredible collaborators and the power of the Lenovo Yoga Slim 7i Aura Edition Imaging with Intel. So go check it out and start creating without limits. After some months of starting this project, it was finally completed. I had my answer. At the end, I think inspiration is whatever you choose it for it to be. What inspires you and how you find that inspiration is and will always be unique to you. So explore, learn, experiment, fail, and try again. Because there's nothing more beautiful than finding your own voice. Thank you for watching. Lenovo and Intel will be giving away a Yoga Slim 7i signed by all of the creatives to one of you. So to win, just let me know what inspires you. You can respond in the comments or even tag me in a post. Check out the descriptions for full details and good luck.